Hello, and welcome to another video for LCJ's web design class. This video is going to introduce another basic concept for web design, and this one is called normal flow. This is a concept that is introduced later in the semester, but I'd like to introduce the idea to you so that you're familiar with it when it comes up again. Now, normal flow is actually a very natural idea. It says that objects which appear on a web page will appear in the same order as they appear in the code. So if an object is in the HTML code first, it will appear on the web page first. The second object in the code will appear second on the web page. Now, this happens starting from the top left. It starts at the top left of the page, and it starts with the top left of the object. So if you place an object first on a web page, the top left of that object will appear in the top left of the page. Now, just as when you're typing in a word processor, each new letter that you type appears to the right of the previous letter, objects on web pages also appear to the right of the previous object until you reach the end of the line. When you reach the right side of the page, it must go then back to the left and then down below the previous object. So keep in mind that objects appear from left to right and from up to down. Let's take a look at what this might look like. Here you have a web page on the left in code and the same web page to the right as it might appear in a browser. Highlighted in the code is the first div titled 1, and that appears as a red box on the web page. Since it is the first object that appears, it appears at the top left of the web page. Now, the second one will appear just to the right of the first one, and the third will appear to the right of that. Notice that they are lined up according to the top left of each object, even though the bottom of each object might be different. Now, the fourth object might not have enough room to appear on the right, so it will appear down below the other objects, and it will begin a new line, and from there, things can move on to the right again. Let's take another look at how that might appear. Now, once again, the focus begins at the top left of the web page. So when an object appears, it appears at the top left. The focus of that object is at the top left of the object. Now, once this first object is in place, the new focus is at the top left of the remaining space on the right. And so the second object, when it appears, it will focus on that location. And once again, we'll have the third object appearing next to that. Now, when the fourth object appears, there's not enough space. And since it can't be contained in the space on the page, it has to move down. The question is, will it move down below the red object, or will it move down below the gold object? Well, if you remember, what I said before is that any new object will appear either to the right or below the object which came before it, the previous object. Since the previous object is the gold object, it must move below the gold object and then back to the left. So this is what normal flow looks like when it appears on a web page. Let me show you what that looks like in an actual web page. So here is the idea expressed once more, except this time we're using an actual web page. So I'll load up the page, and here's the available space. You'll see that the red box appears first, followed by two more boxes to the right. They're aligned at the top left. When the fourth box appears, it will appear here underneath the third box, because that is the next available space below the previous object. So 4 appears below 3. Not below 1. Number 5 appears after that, and now number 6 should appear down here. It will not appear underneath 1 because that's not the previous object. It will appear here underneath number 5, and that's where number 6 will show up. This is actual HTML appearing in an actual browser. So this is the basic idea of normal flow. Once again, This is something that is introduced later on in the semester, but I wanted you to have the basic idea of it right now so that you'll be familiar with it later on. And that's it for normal flow.